Welcome! So this is my giveaway entry for Richard McCook's 3-year anniversary contest. I really don't enter very many giveaways and competitions, certainly not in the vinyl community. It was probably the second one, but the first one was quite a way back. That would have been Steve Carlson's 1000 subs contest, I think. Richard McCook, he's celebrating 3 years of doing YouTube and showing his great record collection. Love his videos, really nice guy. So please, I've got a link for Richard's giveaway video or contest, whatever you want to call it, at the top of the description text box. Please give him a sub, check out that video, and if you think you'd like to enter this contest, then please do so. I'm encouraging people, even though the more people who enter this, the less chance I've got to win, but it's nice to help people get subs and get more traction here on YouTube. Right, so Richard had 3 questions. I'll go through them one by one and show you the related albums. So Richard's first question for everyone, and he also showed examples from his own collection to kind of help out, really, to show people how to enter this contest. So question 1 was to show 3 artists that you collect in your music collection. It's vinyl community, but he said it doesn't matter if you show CDs or even download related stuff and then just put a picture up in your video. 3 artists that you collect, and your favourite album from them and your least favourite. So the first artist I chose was Rammstein, and my favourite album, and this is one that did feature in my Steve Carlson contest entry back in the day. This is Liebe ist für alle da from 2009. Not a bad track on this album. This is like the special edition with a bonus CD of, well, just bonus tracks, really. The first time I heard the lead single off this, Pussy, I kind of fell in love with Rammstein. I'd always been a bit of a casual fan of theirs up until this point, but as soon as I heard that, I knew I had to get that single, which I had on CD, had to get this album, which I've still got, and I've been an avid Rammstein collector ever since. So while Liebe ist für alle da is my very favourite Rammstein album, my least favourite is the one that came right before it. I think this was 2005, maybe 2006. Apologies for being a bit rusty on the dates. But the album I've chosen for my least favourite Rammstein one is Rosenrot. And apologies for my German pronunciation once again. Not a really awful album by any stretch. In fact, one of my all-time favourite Rammstein songs is on here. The beautiful duet between Till Lindemann and Charlene Spiteri from Texas, Don't Die Before I Do. I absolutely adore that track, and that's on here, but overall as an album goes, I think for me it came out a bit too soon after their 2004 album Riser Riser, which is a lot stronger than this in my opinion, whereas Rosenrot feels a little bit more like kind of Riser Riser Part 2 or Riser Riser outtakes, stuff that didn't make the cut for that album. And this seemed to come out only really a year, maybe it might have even been under a year after that. Not bad, but my least favourite, but it's still good. So that was Rammstein. The next artist I decided to go for this best and worst was Depeche Mode. Now this was tricky because Depeche Mode are a band who I love generally all their work, with one exception, which I'll get onto, but my favourite Depeche album can often change just depending on what sort of mood I'm in. The mood I'm in today means I've chosen this one, Black Celebration, as my favourite album by Depeche Mode. This is the expanded CD with DVD. I love these DVD documentaries that Mute and Depeche Mode were issuing on these remastered CDs around this point. I've got all of these in my collection, these remasters with the documentary DVD series with them. I think what swung Black Celebration for me this time round was because it has got 2 of my all-time favourite Depeche singles on, Stripped and A Question of Lust. But it's a really good album. It's really getting into Depeche Mode's sort of industrial, darker electro motif that really helped them become a massive band in America within the next couple of years or so. If you'd asked me on a different day, I may have chosen an earlier Depeche album like Construction Time Again, or Some Great Reward even, Both of those I really love as well. But today, my favourite Depeche Mode album is Black Celebration from 1986, I want to say. Least favourite Depeche Mode album, this was quite an easy choice, really. Although there's a few of Depeche Mode's sort of more recent albums that I can take or leave. The one in their entire catalogue that, for me, there isn't one really strong track on it is Exciter, and I think this was 2001. Used to have this on mini disc. But when I decided I wanted to collect the remastered CD, DVD editions of Depeche Mode, I sold what Depeche Mode I had on mini disc and just replaced them with these versions here. And Exciter, I knew it wasn't a very good album from when I had it on mini disc, but I wanted the DVD, I wanted the album again in my collection as I'm a Depeche collector. I can't really say much about this album that's great. Dream On isn't a bad single, but not very memorable at all. This would have been their second album after Alan Wilder left in the mid-90s. And they've done better since than this. I prefer earlier 1980s to early 90s period Depeche. That's the era of the band that I really love, but Exciter, just a bit of a dull one for me, really. The third and final act for this first question of Richard's that I've chosen is Oasis. So my favourite Oasis album, and I think it's a lot of people's favourite, either this or definitely maybe anyway. This is the mini disc edition of What's the Story? Morning Glory, Oasis' second album. Don't really need to speak on this, it was a massive album back in the day. Has sold millions and millions. This was the album that really put Oasis into the stratosphere, made them arguably the biggest band in the world for maybe a year or so, if nothing else. You know, amazingly survived for another 15 years or so after the release of this. What's the Story? Morning Glory. I'm not going to speak a load on that because everyone knows this album, everyone knows what a classic it is. Least favourite Oasis album is their final studio album, Dig Out Your Soul. A lot of people were saying this was kind of a return to form for Oasis after a couple of kind of average albums, you know, your Heathen Chemistry, You Don't Believe the Truth, but I quite like them. I think they're well above average. If that sounds like a compliment, it might sound kind of like a backhanded one, really. I just wasn't massively impressed with Dig Out Your Soul. I think the one single on here I really like, I think it's Falling Down, or it might be I'm Out of Time. Probably like them both. But yeah, their final studio album. One good thing I will say about this, I really like this edition of the album. This sort of special edition hardback book style with all the glossy pages in it and then the CD housed in the back there. So they are my 3 artists and 6 albums discussed for question 1. Question 2, I think I'm getting this the right way round as well. I do apologise, Richard, if I've got questions 2 and 3 the wrong way round. Richard asked to show 3 albums in your collection that you've got on probably CD, but it could be another format, that you would like to see or like to own on vinyl. So I've got plenty of stuff on CD. I mean, I've shown you 6 CDs already, and I've got hundreds and hundreds of more in my collection. But I went with 2 CDs and a mini disc here. I'll show you the CDs first. First album I've got on CD that I would like to see a vinyl release of, or re-release, is the second album from Electronic, Raise the Pressure. This was originally released in 1996. This is one of my all-time favourite albums. It's hard for me to choose which is my favourite Electronic album, be it the self-titled debut album or this one, Raise the Pressure. Some days it's that one, some days it's this, but Raise the Pressure brings back a lot of particularly happy and poignant memories for me. I was really getting into collecting music properly by 1996 as well. This has come out on vinyl, I think originally, and I was in a Joy Division and New Order Facebook group and someone had put a picture up of an auction for this on vinyl that was about to end, and apparently someone got the vinyl pressing for a bargain £150 or something. And I just said in the thread, why are people going so mad for an original pressing of Raise the Pressure? Like, if this came out on re-released 180 gram vinyl, or maybe a nice green and blue edition maybe to go with the sleeve, that'd be much more affordable. But that hasn't happened yet, but I think I would get this on vinyl. Thing is, I've not got any other Electronic on vinyl. They are a spin-off, of course, of both New Order and the Smiths, and I am a massive New Order collector. That is my biggest collection by far, because they're my favourite band. I've held off collecting Electronic on vinyl, and just stuck to New Order and Joy Division so far for that particular part of my collection. Yeah, I would get this on vinyl with a re-release, but not the original because it's just rip-off money. Sticking with the New Order related theme is an album that was from 1997. Another one that holds fond memories for me, Music for Pleasure by Monaco. Peter Hook's second side project from New Order after Revenge. Debut album from Monaco, which was Hooky and Potsy, David Potts. I've got particularly fond memories of most of the tracks on this album because I saw them in concert in Sheffield, and that was such a great night. I went with my friend Lee, and it was just an incredible night. At that point in my life, I thought that was going to be the closest I ever got to seeing New Order live. Eventually I would see New Order live many years later, but at the time, because I thought New Order might have split up for good in 1993, I thought, well, at least I'm seeing Monaco, and I knew what a great album this was. As far as I know, and I could be wrong, I don't think this ever came out on vinyl. There again, I saw someone on Facebook ask Peter Hook, will there be a 25th anniversary vinyl pressing for Music for Pleasure? And he basically said, well, probably not, because it's not up to me. It's up to the rights holders, the record label, etc. Because, yeah, this will be 25 years old now, this album. So it doesn't look like it's coming, but I think I'd definitely get it. Right, the third album not on vinyl that I'd like to see on vinyl. Strange choice for me, this, because it's a mini disc, and normally when I get mini discs I don't double up on another format. If I've got it on mini disc I don't need it on CD, and highly unlikely that I'd want it on vinyl either, unless it was a really special edition LP. And I think the Corrs' Talk on Corners would make for a really good kind of expanded 2 or even 3 LP edition. Why? Well, A, it's a great album, Talk on Corners. I really got into the Corrs when this came out. This would have been a 1997, I believe. A lot of stuff from that kind of mid to late 90s period here, isn't there? The reason I would like this on vinyl, but particularly an expanded edition, is at the time of this coming out, originally in the mid to late 90s, I was a big Corrs collector. Not only did I have all their albums on CD, I was collecting all their CD singles as well. And they had quite a lot of B-sides that I don't think people have really heard since. There's one in particular I remember. I can't remember the single it was on, but I remember the name of the track, Remember. Such a beautiful song, Remember. As far as I know, it's not turned up on any compilation, but if they could include stuff like that and the other great B-sides and remixes as well. I mean, this album got reissued at least a couple of times, like, you know, There and Then. One to put the Fleetwood Mac cover, Dreams, on, and then again afterwards, like, where they changed the overall colour of the sleeve to like more of a light blue, and that had remix editions of some of the singles like So Young, What Can I Do, and Runaway, although Runaway was actually from their first album. If they could include like a bonus disc of the B-sides, the remixes, and any other rarities, you know, live performances, I think a Talk on Corners reissue on vinyl record would sell really well, to be honest. Right, question 3 is the final question from Richard, and he wanted to know, what acts in your collection would you be okay with just owning a greatest hits of and nothing else? I managed to find 3 of them where I just think the greatest hits for me personally is enough. Your mileage will obviously vary on that. But the first one I'm going to show you, it is another mini disc as well, this. This is Our Town, The Greatest Hits by Deacon Blue. Got this probably about 3, maybe 4 years ago on Discogs. It wasn't massively expensive for a pre-owned mini disc. Mini disc collecting can be such an absolute money pit. But this one, I think it was maybe just under £20, including postage, and I'll pay that for a decent mini disc any day, really. Was never massively fond of Deacon Blue. They were a band I grew up with, because I often saw them on Top of the Pops and listened to them on Radio 1 when I was a child, you know, in the late 80s to early 90s. And there's some good singles on here. I mean, Real Gone Kid is the one that I think was still their biggest hit. I've not listened to this probably since I bought it either. Yeah, I don't need another Deacon Blue album. I don't like them that much. With Minidisc, and I've spoken about this on other videos about MD that I've made, I will be kind of not very selective with MD. I will get stuff in my collection that I wouldn't dream of getting on any other format, just because it's on minidisc, and minidisc is a rare format. And Decon Blue, you know, alright band, Scottish pop rock, that sort of down to earth sort of lyricism that they had, and the male and female sort of co-vocalists I think worked well. Decon Blue, Our Town, a greatest hits compilation that's very good. I do recommend you listen to this on some sort of format, even if it's a streaming service. I don't want any more Decon Blue in my collection. Right, the next one, and I've gone all this time not shown any vinyl records yet, but finally I'm able to show you some. Show you three, actually, because I've cheated a bit for the second part of this question. I'm going to show two greatest hits albums from the same artist, because they are basically half of the same double set, really. I'm talking about the best of 1980 to 1990 and the best of 1990 to 2000 by U2. I got both of these, a year and a half ago. I wanted some U2 greatest hits type stuff in my record collection. There's stuff missing from these that I really like The Fly from Achtung Baby, If God Will Send His Angels from Pop. You know, they couldn't fit absolutely everything, all their singles from 80 to 2000 on here. So I hope, Richard, you don't mind that I'm showing both of these. I've not been compelled to buy any more U2 on record or even any other format. Occasionally I've thought about maybe getting Achtung Baby or even Zooropa. Really, these are enough. I may add to my U2 collection one day, but certainly as I speak right now, I don't feel I need to. I feel these two best of compilations are more than enough for me, at least for the time being. Right, and finally, this might be the most controversial pick as well. I think it's a little bit controversial just given who the band are. But the last act in this question about an artist that you've got a greatest hits of, but you don't really want to get anything else. I'm going with The Who, and this is the story of The Who. This was pretty much dirt cheap pickup on Discogs a year and a half or so back. I think this originally came out in 1979. I say it's controversial because you think of The Who, certainly from kind of 1969 onwards with Tommy, as being more of an albums band. They were really more a singles band in the mid to late 60s, but really once Tommy came out, that kind of changed everything for The Who. So a lot of people are probably saying, what, you don't want to get Tommy or Who's Next or Live at Leeds? Sorry, I'm not the biggest Who fan in the world, so I can't really reel off all their albums. But I do like a lot of their singles. I probably prefer their 60s stuff, although my very favourite Who track, and it was never a single in this country, but I just think it's one of the greatest songs ever written, Barbara O'Reilly. That is on here. I mean, that's worth it for Barbara O'Reilly alone. Everything else is kind of a bonus, really. It's obviously got My Generation, Won't Get Fooled Again, I Can See for Miles. I really love that single. That's one of their 60s hits. I'm a Boy, another brilliant one. Yeah, this is enough Who for me. There again, maybe a little bit similar with U2. If I saw a Who album going for a really good price and I just fancied checking it out, I'd maybe buy it. But I don't feel I need any more Who apart from this in my collection. And there we are. So that was my three questions for Richard McCook's 3-year anniversary YouTube contest. The prize is given away is £50 either via PayPal or an Amazon voucher. If you live internationally, that's fine. It'll just send it and then it'll convert to whatever currency that is in your home country. And like I say, please go and give Richard a sub and watch his contest announcement video and all his other videos as well. Lovely fella. I really enjoy his content. I've enjoyed being able to do this. Like I say, I'm not one for entering a lot of giveaways, but this one, it just felt like a fun thing to do and, you know, kind of roll the dice, just throw my hat in the ring, really. So thank you all for watching, and special thanks go, as always, to my subscribers and my generous patrons. Love you all. I'm going to go now. Probably ought to listen to one of these albums that I've got out. Obviously, I've listened to them all before. They're all in my collection. But some of these has been years since I've listened to. Yeah, I'm going to go now. And I do hope that you join me again next time for my next record and music-related video. Cheers, everyone. See ya!